right, checklist. I'll just start from the top and work my way through. So last class, we went through how to transfer an image onto a block by staining the block black and then using that transfer paper with Conte. There's another way you can transfer an image using a photocopy or a printout done with laser printer. So it has to be toner. You can't use an inkjet. So it has to be a photocopy or something done with a laser printer.
It has to be toner, right?
Yep, toner. Yeah, this method.
Toner, but not inkjet.
Not inkjet. So most people at home have an inkjet, just the way things are. You can go to Staples and get a photocopy done. If you know you need to transfer something during class, you can send me an email. I have a laser printer in my office at the university, and I'm happy to print them up for you, bring them with me. Just email me before class, and they'll give you the size that you want. For the photocopy or the printout, laser printer, you want to use the cheapest paper possible. If you go to like places like, oh, maybe not Staples, but like a professional printing place, they tend to use a paper that has a coating on it that makes the photocopy look really nice. But I find it's hard to do the transfer. It holds onto the toner really well. So great photocopy, bad transfer. So whenever possible, cheap as possible. And the laser printer I have in my office is not the greatest laser printer, but it's old and for some reason it works really well. So if you want to do a lot of transfers, get the cheapest used laser printer possible.
So now, if you transfer that
Yeah.
and transfer the writing on there, you use exactly that writing that's on there?
Yeah.
Okay, you don't have to flip the image or anything?
No, the nice thing about this is when I transfer it, it will reverse for you. So if you have text,
Right.
it will reverse onto the block, so you don't have to try to figure out how to flip it. So I'm going to bring some wax paper. We'll use some use prints there. So you want to take your photocopy face down. Whenever possible, the fresher the photocopy, the better. It's usually what's recommended. Within an hour or so. But I've used photocopies that are a few hours old or even a couple days old. They work. Your transfer will vary. The quality of it will vary depending on which photocopy you use or laser printer you use, when the toner was changed, what kind of toner it was, when's the last person used it. So there's a lot of variables. But you should get something that you can use to get started on your images. I like using this quite a bit. I like doing drawings and then photocopying them and then transferring them. I find to get the quality of the drawing transferred on the block more directly. So I enjoy it. So what we're going to use to transfer it is oil of wintergreen. So oil of wintergreen. So it's an essential oil. You can get it at a health food store. You can also order it through a drugstore as well. Or Amazon.
Sobeys probably, right?
Yeah,
I think
you have
Sobeys
this-
sells.
Kind of have the special order it now.
Oh, I see.
From what I understand, it's actually kind of a mild poison. From what someone's told me about it. So what people use it for, they use it for massaging sore muscles. The idea is because it's a mild poison, you massage it on the top surface of your skin, and then your blood rushes up to the surface of the skin to get rid of the poison, and that increases blood flow and takes care of your sore muscles. That's what I've been told. So, but if you tell a pharmacist I want oil of wintergreen, they'll suggest another like more modern,
Like salon
Less
paws.
tox.
yeah, something more.
Like what?
Salon paws, have you tried that?
Mhm.
The greatest thing ever. It's like sort of like a Band-Aid, but it has oil of wintergreen and camphor and something else. Like it's very teally. But it's not like greasy or oily. It's just like in the it
No.
just sticks on.
You just
That's
stick
what
them
it's
on
made
your
of.
skin, on your
Yeah, like
sore
for
muscles.
muscles. Yeah.
And so it smells really nice.
So oil wintergreen is a brand name or is this
No, it's the product.
the product name? Is it?
Yeah,
Oh,
it's the material they use. So okay, wintergreen. I'll have the bottle here, so you don't have to run out and buy your own. But later on, if you want to buy your own, just oil of wintergreen. It's probably different brands.
Got it.
I've done this before with like a xylene marker or acetone. Would that
Okay.
work on actual book?
Yeah, it will. This is a little bit safer, healthier. I've done it with we used to use lacquer thinner all the time in the university. It wasn't very good.
Probably hard on your lungs.
Hard on
And on
everything.
your brain, yeah.
Hard
On your brain.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You get like 20 or 30 students doing lacquer transfers.
Oh, I see.
The next class, you forget what happened. It's
Yeah,
it's not good.
makes sense.
So this is a lot better for you. Still, I would prefer most of it. So you can put some on a rag or a shop towel, and you just could rub the back a bit. So typically you don't do this, but you basically want to do it so it's see-through. So translucent. You can also tape it down to your block. It's better. So you want to apply enough that you can see through it. You don't want to overdo it. If there's too much oil of wintergreen, then you'll just get a big blob. It'll just blur everything out. It's too much. Too much of the toner kind of dissolves into your block. So apply a little bit at a time. I find the photocopies that work the best are more high contrast images. Sometimes if you have lots of dark grays and blacks, you'll just kind of get an overall dark. So you see the big chuck here, body kind of dark gray and black. So. And then you want to put down a piece of newsprint or wax paper, which I don't have today. And then basically apply pressure like you're printing it.
Yeah. Remember this gel?
Yeah, I never used it, but
No.
I could probably use my last note.
You're a good note taker.
They are good notes. They're messy though. Anyway. This one. Medicinal.
I'm feeling better already.
Good. And the transfers.
Oh,
Yeah. So you can see the text is now reversed. So when you carve it out, when you
Oh,
print
yeah.
it,
Oh, wow.
flip
Did a
back
great
to it.
job.
Yeah, that's
So yeah,
good.
you got nice detail in the woodchuck. So.
Is that dry now or?
I'll let it dry, let the rest of the oil and green evaporate.
Okay.
So give it 15, 20 minutes maybe, and then you're good to go.
And can you use the same one, same print over or not?
It'll be lighter because some of the toner transferred. So
Mhm.
the nice thing is it's once it's on there, it's on there.
Is that needle cut?
Huh?
What's the brown?
No, this is lino. It's just a different color.
Oh, it's like
Just like the gray.
Just like it's like gray.
okay.
I think maybe brown is softer. I don't know.
Well, we do have some brown in the bigger ones, in the
Yeah.
wood cut. Yeah.
That's what I happen to have. So for transfer. I guess the only disadvantage is you can't really, the nice thing about covering it with black is you can see what you're carving. You can't reuse the black ink because then you can't see your photocopy. Sometimes I take like a red marker or I water down some red acrylic paint and go over top so then when I'm carving you can see.
So you put the paint on top of that, or you should put the paint on first?
It's tricky. I put it on after the oil wintergreen will actually strip off the paint
Oh,
or
I
the
see.
marker. Like when you put it down and start rubbing, you'll actually remove the red that's on there. So when it's finished, I put a coat of diluted acrylic paint, like cheap acrylic paint, or you sometimes use drawing ink. I get red drawing ink and dilute it quite a bit and put it on top. So it's transparent, but it just stains the block enough so when I'm carving, or else I just carve. And that'll work with wood and we'll work with lining. So another way to do a transfer. So now I'll talk about paper some more. That's what we like to talk about.
Paper.
Paper.
I love paper.
So when you're preparing your paper, usually you'll get a sheet, and usually you won't use, well, depending on what you're doing, you'll probably have to cut it down, so you can get more than one print off a sheet if you're printing small. So you have a couple options. You can use an X-Acto knife and then cut it and get a straight edge, which is totally fine. Or you can create this nice kind of rough edge. So when you get a high quality cotton rag paper, so like an archival paper that's cotton based rather than wood pulp based, it'll usually have a deckled edge like this. So that's what it's called, a deckled edge. So it's a nice rough edge. It's very nice to look.
Feels nice.
It's nice, feels nice, just feels great.
Really absorbent as far as the ink. It's nice.
Yep.
Just move the other
So
BFK or Arches cover. We have quite a few different kinds.
Is it advisable to use cardstock paper?
Cardstock paper like this is, I think it's good for beginners because it's cheap.
Yep.
When you're starting out, if you want full proofs or make rough copies, it's really good. Because a sheet like this is like, I think 70 cents a sheet.
$80.20.
Okay. Gone up. But a full size sheet of cotton rag could be anywhere from like Stonehenge is what, $7 or $8.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's on the lower end. BFK
It is on-
is like $14.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it is get quite expensive. So
Yeah.
yeah, cardstock is a great place to start.
Okay.
We probably sell the most BFK.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good business speak.
Although Arches, we sell a lot of Arches too.
Yeah. Anyways, to preserve that deckled edge when you're trimming your paper down to size, you can do something called tearing your paper. So rather than use a knife, what you can do is use a ruler to tear your paper down. So you figure out what size you want. I'm just going to tear this in half. So I'm just making marks on either side of the paper. So I'm going to cut this in half. The width of this paper is 26, so I'm making a mark at 13. So there's a little pencil mark here and a little pencil mark here. And what you want to do is use a ruler. This ruler is really nice because it has a beveled edge.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if we still have one like that here. Or not.
Mhm.
No.
You know, we have the cork back ones.
This is from Colors. Anyone remembers Colors? Back in the day?
Yeah. What brand is that? Oh, it's a Colors brand.
Yeah, it's a Colors brand. I've actually looked it up. You can buy this on Amazon.
What's it called?
It's a Lumi cutter.
A Lumi cut. Oh, I see. Lumi cutter. Yeah.
Basically, you just line up the two marks and then hold down the ruler with one side, and then you want to start from the top corner here and then pull towards.
Mm-hmm.
So then you get kind of a deckled edge. It's not quite the same as the real thing, but yeah, it's pretty close.
What happens if you fold that paper in half? Exactly. Lots of times I do that.
Oh, and then
And then fold it back, and then you can really just, you can almost tear it without a ruler. You can put it on a straight edge countertop and,
that works too.
yeah. Why don't you fold it straight?
So that's tearing paper. Typically, if you can remember, we tear from the back of the paper. Cardstock doesn't really have a back or a front to it. Cotton rag paper does have a front and a back. And I don't know if I have a sheet, a roll of print sheet.
Is there a,
There's a watermark.
there's a watermark?
Yeah.
I can get one.
Tearing from the back, you just move face down.
Yeah,
Front
face
down,
down,
and
front
then-
down, and then tear it from that. What will happen is when you tear, you get kind of the straight edge of the ruler showing up. It's not, if you do it from the front, it doesn't matter too much, but you kind of get a raised edge, it's straight.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
There's the watermark. So, this is the front, this one?
This would be the back.
That's the back, yeah, that's how I got it out of the cabinet. So you can see the watermark from the back?
Yep.
Okay, makes sense.
Yeah. So
Would
the
you like to have a
quality,
look at that so you can see?
The water, that is the back.
This is the back side,
Okay,
So you
so
have the back side
that's
up.
where you would be.
yeah, backside up and then tear it from the back.
tear from the back, yeah.
Because you end up
And
getting
different from the front.
straight edge
Right.
from the ruler. and
Yeah, it's subtle. If you put
Do
it
it from the
against
back,
the light,
put it
it's a little
from the
bit
front.
easier
Yeah,
to see.
yeah, I can see.
Yeah,
Because you ripped off the watermark.
Can't really see
Very
it.
good,
Yeah.
So this
good
is
one,
the front,
John.
yeah?
Yeah, that's the front.
Yeah. It's nice, more like the
See what
protrusion.
happens if
Yeah,
you
yeah.
printed on the wrong side?
Yeah, okay, I see.
Not a lot.
I guess it's
Sometimes you
just
can see
good.
the weave of the paper from how it's been made from the back.
Because I can see me doing it on the
So
right
it's
side.
pressed
Maybe
into
just
the
the
back.
back.
Yeah,
And it's you can
How
see it
more
through
to
the,
left.
it's not a
it's, you know, more subtle.
So when I carry the watermarks should face in front of me.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I guess it depends on the paper too. Some papers you can really see the difference between the front and the back,
Okay.
but some paper doesn't.
Would you say the back is a little smoother on this, Patrick?
I would think so, yeah.
Yeah.
'Cause that's where the pulp sat on the mold.
Okay. But rice paper or that type of thing, you always print on that smooth side.
So if you're printing a washi or a
A
rice
washi,
paper,
yeah.
I tend to print on the smooth side. So usually a smooth side and a rough side for washi. I print on the smooth side. If you print on the rough side, you'll often get little bits of paper showing up on your ink. They'll kind of tear off. And then you'll have to deal with little bits of washi
Washi,
paper.
does it come in a pad too, or is it just?
You can get it in a
single
pad
sheets?
or you get it in a
Yeah.
sheet, depending on the washi. There's different qualities of washi, different types.
So this is the side you print on? And that's the side you go on, that rough side.
And with washi,
Yeah.
tearing it could be a little more difficult because it's a thinner paper. So generally, I tend to cut it with a sharp knife.
Or rice paper, same.
Is this the Japanese paper?
Yes, it is.
Oh,
We have quite a bit of paper from Yasuchomo as well, like rice paper or hosho.
so the best way is just use the knife to cut it. Same
With a
as-
thinner paper, I would, yeah.
Okay.
I feel like Vanna White here with a black eye.
No, it's helpful.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and sometimes I forget, so I Google it, which side to print on.
Hmm.
And they tell you the smooth side.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this ruler would be kept here, so you can borrow it, or if you have a ruler at home. There's only two. Usually before I start printing, I will tear my paper down, because my hands are still clean. You try to do multiple papers at a time if you stack them. Just be careful, sometimes the paper ships. Again, can you see with that phone there? Or is that?
Yeah, I can see.
Oh,
I don't know nothing.
Like, how do you, I wouldn't even know.
That's obviously not
sweeper's turn.
It is for me, but.
Yeah, you can.
Do you want that thing? Sorry, I took it.
Oh, no.
You were just looking at.
That's fine. Just tearing your paper, getting it ready. So, next thing I'll show you is the registration sheet. So after you turn down your paper, you want to prepare a registration sheet. So by a registration sheet, it's a way to line up your paper with your block. So it's always the same throughout your edition. So every print that they do, you'll have the same amount of space around the block in your paper. And also make sure that your block is square with your paper, so you have nice square margins all the way around. So last week we were printing a little bit towards the end of class, and we're just throwing caution to the wind and throwing paper down and printing, which is awesome. I encourage that. But when it comes time to do your proper edition, or this is how we do a registration sheet. So
Is that the terminology, registration sheet?
yeah, registration sheet.
Oh.
Yeah. So you'll need a block. Block in your paper. You need a piece of newsprint. There. So you usually do a registration sheet on newsprint. You could do it on using cardstock if you wanted to, it might be easier to see. Some people do it on Mylar. Doesn't really matter. You do it with a pencil. Let's see. So the first thing I want to do is either measure or trace out two sides of your paper. So this is my paper. So I'm going to trace it out. You can also just measure it up. Your paper is 20 by 13, then you can just measure it up with a ruler. But I'm just doing the two sides. Tracing it out. So basically you just have an L or a corner. Like that. Usually a pencil or a ballpoint pen, something that has a fine tip to it. So I just do the two sides. Some people do all four sides. This is the way I was taught, and it makes sense to me. We're going to do the same thing with the block. So we're going to figure out the margin sides. So if I want a 2-inch margin, I'll place the block in there and then trace that out. So my paper is very square. So now I gotta do math. So my short side of my block is 5, and my paper is 8.5, so. 3/4? Yeah. So when you're working on your margins, that's a great example. So when you work on your margins, typically you want to make the bottom margin a little bit bigger, the sides and the top. So again, bottom is always going to be a little bit wider than the sides and the top. There's two reasons for that. Typically, you could do your additioning and signing on the bottom underneath your image. So you want to give yourself a little bit of room for that. Also, there's something called an optic float. It's something that's talked about more in photography. But if you, and same with matting, if you're matting a print, if you center your image perfectly on your paper, when you look at it, it looks like it's slipping a bit. It looks like it's a little bit too low. So if you give yourself a little bit more on the bottom, it looks more centered. It's a kind of an optical illusion. So even if it's a half an inch more on the bottom, it just looks like it's more centered. Again, it's something you talk about more in photography and framing. Like when I cut mats, I always leave a little bit more on the bottom, just slightly. It looks more centered.
So when you're cutting, like when you're making that on that block, then you're just trying to center the block within the measurements of the paper?
Yep.
Like, and then the bottom?
Bottom, make it a little bit more. You give yourself some room. So this is 5 inches and my paper is 8 inches, just to make my math easier. So 5, I might go 2 on the bottom, or 1.5, 2 on the bottom and then 1 on top. Just give myself a little more room, for example. So half an inch to an inch. So I don't know if you needed yours, there's a little more on the bottom. There is.
Like, I think it might be twice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can go bigger than that, yeah. So
They had very nifty wooden
They did.
registers set up
Yeah.
that made it like
perfect.
probably foolproof. Before they
Mm-hmm.
did it
Jake
that way.
yours, right? Yeah. We'll go through that in the next couple of weeks. This is a kind of a very basic way to do
Is
it.
this like a common practice or it's just like
For leaving more space on the bottom?
yeah?
Yeah, it's your kind of standard issue. It's up to you if you want to follow that standard.
Okay, so it's up to artists.
Yeah, I'm just letting you know how things are
Okay.
done standard by kind of like a.
Okay. No, that's fine.
And then if after you decide, no, I want to sign on this, I've seen artists sign on the side of the print.
Yeah.
They'll sign the back of the print because they don't want to have the writing get in the way or interfere with your image.
Got it.
But just to let you know, if you do see a little more on the bottom, that's the reason why. But traditionally, or more standard way to do it is to have a little more on the bottom. You throw convention to the wind if you want. That's why we're here. So.
When you're putting the block, would you still just do 2 sides?
Yep. Yeah, talk about that as soon as I figure out. So I do 2 sides again for the block. So either measure out or trace it. This is 2 sides of the paper. So the reason why I do that, the reason it was tough to me like that, is if you do all 4 sides, you go to place your block and put your paper. I find I'm always trying to shift the block just a little bit to try to get it exactly within those 4 sides that I've traced out. So if I trace it out so all 4 of the sides are traced out, and I put my block down. I find I'm always going kind of back and forth and trying to shift just a little bit. We're starting out with black and white. If it shifts a little bit, you're probably not going to notice. When you do color though, you have to make sure the restoration is really tight. That's why Jacob's event worked so well, because everything was really tight. But I find if you do just the two sides, then you're always registering to that one corner. So it's always, it's more consistent, I find.
So are you always using the bottom?
It doesn't have to be.
It doesn't have to be,
No,
just
as long as
any
it's two sides.
corner, just
Yeah,
as
any
long as you know
corner.
which corner it
Yeah.
is. Okay.
Each time you do that. And then the registration sheet goes underneath a piece of Mylar. Just to keep things clean. So as you're printing, you will get ink on the back of your block. It will happen. It just does. And then it'll get onto the Mylar, but the Mylar, because it's plastic, it's really easy to clean. So in between printings, you can just clean it with a rag or a shop towel as you're printing. So then my printing area is set up like this. So then I take my paper, put it down. When you're using a registration sheet, hard to see. When I'm laying down my paper, I'm kind of taking the paper and matching it up with that corner and just laying it down. You try not to move the paper too much once it's laid down, because if with the block inked, it's going to start smudging if you move it around like that quite a bit. So if you move it around too much, you'll start smudging your ink. So I usually line it up with my two corners like that, or the one corner in front of me, drop it like that, and then you're done. You can press it a little bit because the ink will help it stick it to the block, and then you can start printing. That's usually how I do it.
How about if I put tape behind the paper?
Tape, like you tape down each piece of paper? Or
Like the one you have right now,
like if I tape it down after I put it down, or?
like because it's because this paper is the background, right? This
Yeah.
So that one you're not doing any color, just to support the output of the what's it called, the registration output.
Oh, like tape down the registration sheet, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can do that for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Likes music, or you're
Um,
recording right now?
recording right now and then
Okay.
talking, and then after
All
music. Yeah, it would work if you have a shaped block. You just trace out the shaped block. I usually trace down one side enough so I can position it as much as I can. So. So that's the registration sheet. Any questions?
So I think it's because I have a spatial problem
No.
here. So when you're printing,
Mhm.
the block is, where's the block?
Under.
Under,
So my registration sheet goes underneath the Mylar. If you want, I can ink this up and print it with the registration sheet. That helps.
so, well, you just line up the lino first,
Yep, so
There.
this would be inked up.
right?
I'm gonna put this down like so.
And then the paper goes, then you fit the paper in.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because the reason why I make the registration sheet,
Yeah,
you
okay,
can
I got
eyeball
it,
it. But
I got it.
Yeah, you got it?
Just-
Go. Yeah, you can eyeball it. You can either eyeball it, and if it's a little bit crooked, you can tear it down after to the block. Just make your paper a little bit bigger, but this way you're making it square from the get-go and saving on paper. So just like that. So
Okay.
it's-
So
Okay,
it's registration paper, Milo,
Yeah, block,
block.
face up, then your paper on top.
Okay.
Like so. So you'll do that every time you print. Which brings me to the next thing. Sorry, this is kind of dry, but we'll be carving it. So the handouts I gave you, there's one page that talks about editioning, signing and editioning your prints. So we can go through that now, since we're talking about paper. So, nice thing about Printmaking is you can do an addition, so you can do a multiple of the same image. So a multiple of the same image is called an addition, so if I make an addition of this print, that's what I mean. So when you do an addition, each print within the addition should be as close to each other as possible and as good quality as possible. So your first few prints, like I mentioned last week, will probably be done on newsprint to kind of get the ink up on your block. It'll probably be a little bit patchy, the ink won't be even. And once you pulled your first good print on newsprint, then you can go on to your big paper, is usually how it's done. And then when you make multiples of your print and call it an addition, you want to make sure those prints within the addition are well done and as close to each other as possible. There's always going to be slight differences because we're printing by hand, so we're not robots or machines. We can't duplicate exactly, but as close as possible. That's what I mean by addition. So if you have one print that's crooked, or one print that's really under inked, you wouldn't include that as part of your addition, typically. And then when you're finished printing, the ink is dry, you can sign an additional prints, which is the nicest part. And all the work is done. So you always want to use a pencil. Pencil is archival, so it will last the ages. If you use something like a marker or a ballpoint pen, over time it's going to fade. So pencil. Plus if you use a Sharpie, it looks terrible on a print. So you can argue me about that, but no. And then there's different types of additioning you can use. So typically the title goes in the center, your name on the right, and the edition number goes on the left. That's like kind of, again, a standard kind of way to do it.
So the titles in the,
Title's in the center,
yeah.
your edition number is on the left, and your signature is on the right. And this is usually done on the bottom underneath your image. Like that. That's not always the case. When I was in school, for whatever reason, we put our edition number in the center and then put the title here. I think it looks more balanced, I guess. It does bring attention to the edition number. When I had a student show a friend who didn't know too much about printmaking came out, and I just happened to have all my editions were like 3 out of 3 or 4 out of 4. So like, wow, you got a really good mark because he thought it was the grade. And he looked at other people who had like 1 out of 4 or 2 out of 4. And like, so, anywho. So that's a typical order. It was a little bit different. That's okay, just as long as you have the information. Again, the bottom is usually the case, but some people sign on the side or even on the back. If you have something called a bleed print, where the image goes all the way to the edge of the paper, you wouldn't have room for signing it properly, so then you would flip it on the back and sign the back. So the most common type of addition would be the first one. So here I have 1 out of 4. So the bottom number is the total number of prints within the edition. So you have edition of 4, so it'd be 4 prints in the edition. And the top number would be the number of that specific print. So you'd number them 1 out of 4, 2 out of 4, 3 out of 4, and 4 out of 4.
That's the addition, right?
That's the addition, yeah. So that's your kind of your typical addition. Artist proof, or AP. So it's either the artist will set aside a small number of prints, usually about 15 prints of the final edition, to be kept for their own collection. So I usually keep 1 or 2 prints when I'm printing, just for myself, just to have prints to show other people. And then the rest I can either sell or give away. So if you do find something that's AP, it might be considered more valuable because it's from the artist's own collection. AP can also refer to a print within the edition that's unique, that's separate from the edition. So if I was printing this in black and I decided to print this in red, that would become an artist proof. Because it's printed in red, it's different. Or if I did some drawing on it, or did some collage and printed something on top, it would be an artist proof.
AP in the front or at the back?
The AP would go where the edition number is.
Oh, the edition there?
Yeah. So instead of having it part of the edition, it'd be separate, it'd be called an AP,
Oh, okay, I see.
yeah, or an artist proof. The other common one is called a state proof, or S over P. So some printmakers, as they're working, they'll pull a proof just to see the progress on their print. And they'll go so far as to label it SP. And if they're doing a multiple different types, like a series of state proofs, then they'll go SP1, SP2, SP3, and keep track of their progress, if they're really good about it, or else they'll pull a proof and never mark it. So if you see a state proof, that's what it means. It's a work in progress. So they've worked on their block for a while, they did some carving, and they wanted to see what it looks like, so they'll pull a state proof. And then there's XP or VE. So XP is experimental proof, and VE is varied edition. So again, that's along the same lines as that second definition of the artist proof. So something's done to the print to make it unique within the edition. So a different color's been used, different medium's been used. So like something's been hand drawn on top of it, or it's been hand painted. Then it'd be considered an experimental proof or a varied edition, and separate from the edition. And the last one is called Bonneté, forgive my French, or BAT. So it literally means best pulled. So this is a way to do an edition. It's a traditional way to do an edition, pardon me. So usually you'll start printing, so you do some proofs on newsprint, then you go onto your good paper, and then you'll pull the first good print. Like you pull it off your good paper and it's like, this is how I want all my prints in the edition to look like. That becomes your BAT. And you set that aside, and every time you pull a print, you'll compare that print with your BAT, and you'll decide whether or not it's good enough to be in the edition. So you compare it to the BAT, and it's like, yep, it's good, great. Next one you pull, it's a little bit lighter than the BAT, then you put it to the side, and it becomes an artist proof. Or you can use the back for doing proofs, and you keep on going through. So you're always comparing it to the BAT.
And does that become one?
Depending on the artist, either the BAT is separate from your edition or it becomes part of your edition. So it's BAT, then you go 1 over 4 to make it more complicated.
Oh.
Could your BAT ever get swapped out if you pulled a print that was better?
Yeah, you can do that as well.
How is that different, BAT and AP then?
So the artist proof, you're intentionally doing something different. Either you want to try something like a different color or some drawing to make it very different from the edition. The BAT is what you want all your prints in your edition to be. So it's like printed properly, just the right amount of ink. It's square on the page. It's like the perfect print for that edition. And then you want to try to make all your other prints in the edition just like your BAT.
Okay, so AP is like maybe like work in progress, and BAT is like the final of the final. AP
would be more like you're printing and you decided, I was working on this whale and I decided it'd be really cool if I drew a ship on top.
Okay.
For one, then that'd be an artist proof because it's separate from the rest of the edition. For that second example of an AP. So it's very complicated, and different artists will have slightly different ways to label it. So I'm sure there's an artist right now who's like screaming at me as I'm explaining this. But generally, this is how, if you go to a gallery and you see edition numbers like this, let's see what. If you go to Jacob's show, he has a lot of varied editions. So you use the same blocks, but you try different colors and different combinations.
Okay.
So when you see VE, you'll understand now that it's a varied edition using the same blocks, but just slightly different colors.
And this is only practice meant for printmaking, not for other arts.
Yeah. We're stuck with it.
Well, I just find it kind of interesting.
Yeah, there's a lot of jargon in printmaking, so
Is that how you make printmaking valuable?
Yeah, I guess so, yeah, good point. It's up to you. I think more contemporary printmakers, some really follow this strictly, and then some don't. Depending on the printmaker. Do people know who Jillian Ross is? She's a master printer, so there's also a tradition in printmaking where you have a master printer that works alongside an artist to make an edition. So to be a master printer, you have to be very precise because that artist is making prints to sell in galleries. So that has to be really high end, really well done, and they have to be exact. So they would follow this down to the letter. The show that I have at SDM is collage work of prints. I have no edition numbers. It's just, I made prints and then I collaged them and put them together. So kind of the opposite of what Jillian does. Both are printmaking, they're just different. But this is kind of a standard, so.
So she's not the artist, she just does the printing part of it?
That's where it's more of a collaboration in a lot of ways. So she'll work with the artist will have an idea, and then she'll work with the artist to come up with the way to express the idea. So she'll often work on the blogs or plates or whatever,
Yeah.
make suggestions. So it's a much more of a collaboration, not just kind of a manual labor thing.
Is she from here?
She is actually, yeah. She went to U of S. She went to South Africa, and she lived there for many years. She worked with William Kentbridge, who's a well-known artist. She had a kind of a installation at the RIMI last year. He dropped by. She had a print studio set up. Yeah.
What was her last name again?
Ross, Jillian Ross. So you can look her up on Instagram. They're actually building a print studio in the Bus Barns. So it's a Bus Barns project. There could be a cultural center. There's going to be artist studios and a theater, and then Jillian Ross Print's going to be there.
Is Makerspace moving in there as well?
Right?
Is Makerspace moving in there as
I'm
well?
not sure. I haven't heard again. They're still in that old space, the same space that is there.
I know, yeah.
I don't know. All right. Thanks. We're almost there. Like I said, there's a lot of jargon and technical stuff here. Next thing is how to sharpen your tools as you're working. So move away from signing and paper. Talk about sharpening your tools. Over time, your tools will get dull, and it's good to keep them sharp. It's easier to work with. So what I like to use is this green stuff. So it's honing compound. It's a honing compound. They use it for sharpening wheels. You can get it at Lee Valley. It's basically silicone. It's a silicone compound. So I use this together with this really gouged piece of wood. So what I do is, so I've made some gouges, lots of gouges throughout the width. And basically I find a gouge that's the same size as my tool. So for example, this one here. And then I take the green stuff and I rub inside that gouge. And then I take my tool, and again, I'll do this on a table like that, but it's a little bit easier to show you here. And I'm just gonna go back and forth. That's my tool and that gouge. You can see that gray that's forming. That's the metal that's being abraded by the green compound that has silicone in it. So it's sharpening your tool like that. It works really well. U-gouges are really hard to sharpen because of the shape. So I find this works really well.
Did you make the couch initially with that tool or how
Yeah.
did you just?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's best if you can do this as you're carving. If you wait like 3 weeks into a big block and your tools are super dull, it's going to take you forever to do this. So as you go along, every once in a while, just give it a quick sharpen. It's probably the best way to do it. So when I do that, I'm kind of sharpening the outside of the U, so the outside of the U. But when I do that, it kind of creates a burr, kind of like a curved lip of metal on the inside. So even after I sharpen this, just like this, and I go to a piece of lino or a piece of wood, I find that it feels duller than when I started. That's because that burr is on the inside of that U. So what I could do is take a piece of sandpaper or a chopstick, a little bit of the green compound in, and just rub the inside of it, like so, just to get rid of that burr. It doesn't take too much. And then I test it. That's why there's so many couches like this on a piece of wood. That's super sharp. So this will be available for you during the class to sharpen. But it's a nice simple way to sharpen your tools as you're working. Again, it's better to work with sharper tools than dull tools. I do have this thing I got from Lee Valley. Yeah. I like this one better, but this is available for you if you want to try it. I've had some students use it and they like it quite a bit. So it has different shapes, so you can actually sharpen the inside part of your tool. And it works the same way. It comes with a yellow compound that's pretty much the same as the green. And you just kind of rub it on the raised part that you're going to use that matches the size of your tool. And then you just kind of go in one direction, like this. You don't want to go back and forth because it is wood and you'll start carving the wood. So go in one direction. So I'm using the inside of the U right now. And then on this side, there's a leather strop. So you can take the compound, rub it into the leather, and then you can do the outside. I find it's a little bit trickier because it's a U shape, so you kind of have to keep a consistent angle and then kind of rotate the U, the gouge. But it works as well. If you want to try that out, it's available for you too. Alright. So I think we're through most of the drawing on that. Last thing I'll just show you before we work on the blocks. We have two presses, or two ways to print. So we have the Woodzilla. That's what it's called. It has a monster.
That's
front.
amazing.
So basically it works with leverage. So you would take your block, ink it up, put it here, put your paper on top. And then we have these felts that go on top of the paper. That goes down. And then you want to make sure this part catches underneath here, and you push. So Jacob had two of these. This one was used, and then we borrowed the other one from the university. And then when Jacob is working on getting everything ready, you realize that you can actually adjust the pressure, the height of it by adjusting these. So you go up and down because his blocks are a little bit thicker. But it works by leverage basically. So you push down on this, and then you get a print. So it's kind of a step up from burnishing the back. But burnishing the back is also fine. I'll leave this here and then we can use it during class if you want to. Give it a shot. It's made, so I think Woodzilla got bought out by Speedball. They were an independent company, and then Speedball bought them. So Speedball tends to have a lot of, they've kind of dominated all of the printmaking products that we use here. So now they're owned by Speedball. It's a little expensive. It's nice to have. It's good if you're doing a lot of workshops and stuff like that. It's pretty portable. I used it this summer with kids, so I got a lot of good use. And then the last thing is the toothpick baron.
Cool.
So, actually, ink up some. So the toothpick baron is actually made from bamboo toothpicks. So this is something you can make at home. I don't know if anyone's heard of Nick Seminoff. He was a printmaker. He passed away, I think, 2 years ago now. He worked at the university. He developed a lot of safer and more innovative ways to work with printmaking. I'll talk about him more when we go into the university. But he went to Japan to do a residency, and he visited the studio of a master printer there. And this is what the master printer used to print his wood blocks. So they're bamboo toothpicks, not wood, because the bamboo's stronger. And it happens to come with a nice kind of case like this, so it's ready to go. Basically, you take all the toothpicks out, and then use an epoxy or a glue on the bottom, and stick the toothpicks back in, and let that dry. And then with some, I don't know, maybe 100, 120 grit sandpaper, you want to sand the top, just to flatten the points a little bit, and then you can print with it. So each point of the toothpick delivers pressure onto the back of the paper. So, you can cut over here, print. I can use the Woodzilla and so 2 more options ready. So now I'm using my registration sheet. I have one. Another trick for keeping your print clean when you're working is you'll probably have scrap pieces of paper left over. You make kind of a lightning bolt in the shape. If your fingers are dirty all the time, you can use them as paper grabbers. Some people use playing cards, they'll fold them in half. So you can lay it down that way. Turn that one, so it's going to line up there. And then we'll have another piece of mylar that goes on top. And then we'll add some oil to the top there. I didn't bring my oil with me, but there's enough oil in here, it should be okay. And then you want to rub the back. So it's a bearing. I just use the toothpicks. So it's a really cheap way to make a bearing. And it works really well. We had a grad student at the university. He was doing, it must be what, I think it was probably 6 feet by 3 feet wood blocks. And he was printing them all by hand because it was too big for the press. And he was using one of these.
How come use oil? How come oil?
It just makes it glide a little bit better across the mylar.
What kind of oil?
So typically we use vegetable oil in the studio because it's available and it's cheap. The problem with vegetable oil, over time it kind of clogs your toothpicks. I like using silicone oil. And it sounds expensive, and it can be, but if you go to Michael's, it's actually pretty cheap. And actually, this bearing comes with a little bit of oil. So it just makes it easier to glide. This time has so much oil and it's so greasy, it just glides across. If you used it dry, it would make a terrible screeching noise. Just because of the friction between your mylar and your bearing. So. Just makes it easier to work with.
So you put the oil in
Yeah, on the mylar. So move around with that. Oh my god. Yeah, it takes your friction. Just remember, if you have a piece of mylar that you're using for this, mark the oil side, just so you're not flipping the oil on top of your paper. So. Different.
Oh.
So yeah, I'll have one here if you want to try out. If you want to try and make your own, pretty easy to make. And then we'll have the Woodzilla as well.
So that is like the container that those come in?
Yep.
Or-
Actually, this one, the epoxy is kind of worn out. So that's what it comes in like. And it's a top.
Okay.
So basically you take all the toothpicks out, they'd be loose, put some sort of epoxy or silicone on the bottom, stick them back in, let it dry, and then sand the top, just to sand down those points just a little bit, so it's a little bit flattened, and then you can use it as a bearing. And each point delivers pressure. It works really well for large flat areas, which can be kind of difficult if you're using a more traditional bearing. Yeah. Any questions? A lot of information.
You're only using the mylar top when you use that bearing.
Just to make
Yes,
it
the
glide
oil.
easier. Yeah, no one.
Yes.
Otherwise, if you're using a regular bearing, newsprint or
Just use one. Yeah.
And then I have the widths of the screen there. We had one student, she used tortilla press for printing.
Like
It's
with
basically-
felt in it still?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the same idea, you're using leverage, but the tortilla press she found at a secondhand store for like $10.
But like relatively small knives.
Not that size. Yeah, I mean, you can imagine the size of a tortilla. So maybe a
Did she
little bit
put
smaller.
wooden blocks in it?
Pardon me?
Did she like use wooden blocks as well? Like not just the metal? Like I'm only seeing.
This one was a
tortilla
wooden
presses
one.
like this.
It was a
Oh,
wooden
okay.
one, yeah. So,
Oh,
yeah. One thing she had on top was a hockey puck to help with leverage.
oh, sorry.
Yeah. So, some people use pasta makers. I use the top roller or bottom roller, so it's like a regular press. So, different options.